Welcome! My name is Colleen Tauke and I'm a sewing specialist here at Bonds & Porter. In this Quilting Quickly tutorial, I'm going to show you how to put together the blocks in the quilt called Blue and White Classic. If you'd like to purchase this pattern, please visit our website. We're going to be working with 1.5 inch strips. They're the narrow ones here, and a great selection of lights with a blue or a taupe kind of design or a pattern to them, and then blues that vary from a deep navy into a lighter blue. And then we're going to be adding a border fabric in a larger print and using a dark, almost solid blue as the centers of our blocks. I've got one here on the sewing center, and you can see that with the navy in the center kind of weights the block. We're using two different lights going in opposite directions out, and then two different blues going in the other direction out from the center. Now this is what we would call a typical Courthouse Steps block, and it is quite simple to put together, but there's a little bit of a twist, so make sure that you keep your block straight. It can get distorted fairly easily. Going down through your strips, follow your pattern for the numbers and the sizes of blocks to cut. And I'll show you here, my trick is to use sticky dots so that I can remember my alphabet letters and don't have to reference the size all the time. The pattern is set up so that you build from A through the alphabet. So if you remember that little tip, you're using A first, then onto the B's and the C's, and that makes the putting it together of this block a little more logical. So we've got lights and darks. Some are, you'll see that there's B's and C's in both lights and in the darks. So it depends on placement, okay? I've got one started already, but we're starting with that very center. And you can see here I've already added the A blocks to two different sides, so two different lights. Now I'm going to add, since those were A, B would be the next thing. So I'm going to take two B block rectangles, two different prints, and I'm going to join those to opposite sides. Now, the building at the very beginning seems quite easy. The thing is, you really need to make sure that your 1/4 inch seam is accurate and that the presser foot isn't pushing or pulling your fabric. Making sure, I'll use the tip of my scissors here, that as you begin, that this is aligned properly and that the end is aligned properly, beginning and end of your seam. Presser foot in your machine can tend to push the fabric ahead, and that's when you get the distortion. So make sure that your 1/4 inch seam, may want to go back and do a little test to make sure that it's an accurate 1/4 inch seam. If you are team sewing, if you're working in a project with another quilter, this is where you're going to make sure that your 1/4 inch seam is the same, because as we're working with other quilters, sometimes one person's 1/4 inch seam is different than another person's 1/4 inch seam. Now, I'm opening this with my finger here, but you want to go to the iron to make sure you set your seam, then open it up all the way, and you can see that the ends do meet nice and square. And they want to do that as you go around each time, because if you don't do that, that's where the distortion comes in. That heating and setting of that seam and then opening it up will help keep you nice and square. And again, the beginning and the end of that bar you add on need to be even with your block. If you go back and cheat and trim off a piece each time, your block will slowly get more and more distorted. So try to stay with those measurements, because the math isn't going to lie. It's going to tell you exactly how big your base should be for that next rectangle to be added. Okay, once you get done making all of your blocks, the fun part is to put together two lights, two darks, and make a variety of blocks. Now let's look at the setting of these quilt blocks. You'll notice that the dark is always kept top and bottom. So that means that this next row then would logically be like this, top to bottom. The other thing you'll notice is that there are quilts where when one block bleeds to another, where they join, the two fabrics or the two prints are the same. In this quilt, they're different. So in the same manner, the lights, you can see they're two different lights, but that's what gives the quilt texture and fun. So have fun making your blocks for the Blue and White Classic quilt. If you'd like to see more of our Quilting Quickly tutorials, please visit our website. Thanks for joining me today.